I did a little bit of traveling last week, and it got me thinking about games that I like to take with me when I travel. My name is James, and I started this channel simply because I love video games. If that sounds like you, please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos just like this one. As I said, I did a tiny bit of traveling last week, and it's always a really tough decision for me to decide what games or what kind of games I want to bring with me. I generally stray towards games on Switch or DS or some sort of portable medium. So I picked a handful of games off my shelf to be the representatives for games that I take with me when I travel. Generally, I like for these games to be ones that I'm familiar with, that I feel like I can jump in and jump out of pretty easily, and something that's simple enough to explain that if one of my family members sees me playing and starts asking questions, that I don't have to explain what's going on for hours on end. These games are going to be pretty similar to the games that I replay every year list that I did a while back. All of the games that I chose are on Nintendo Switch. I do like to travel with my DS sometimes. However, I don't typically replay games on my DS. I would typically take my DS with me if I was in the middle of playing something on it and didn't want to stop. With all that out of the way, let's jump in. The first game that I pulled is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I chose this specific game because it was the first one that I got on Switch. I really think that any Pokemon game will do, though. With Pokemon being such a long-running series and all the games being pretty similar, Pokemon as a whole can feel like a pretty safe and pretty familiar experience. A lot of the games being available on Switch or DS make them really great for long car rides or airplane rides or, booting them up in the morning when you naturally wake up at 5 in the morning because everybody else in your family works normal jobs and won't naturally wake up until around like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't really take Pokemon with me when I travel, generally because those games are a little bit longer. But Pokemon does fit the criteria for all of the other games on this list. And so I wanted to go ahead and include that in there as well. Up next is Stardew Valley. I like this one for traveling because it's simple enough that you can easily play it on the little Switch screen, but not so simple that it doesn't hold your attention. I have a tendency to start this game when I'm on vacation and then never play it again. By the time I have another vacation, I completely forgot what I was doing and then just go ahead and restart altogether. What I really like about Stardew Valley, though, is that you can really just kind of play it however you want. That sometimes when I play it, I am the number one farmer. And then sometimes that I play, I decide to focus on a lot of the social links and a lot of the other opportunities that are there. And I really like that depending on what I'm feeling like playing, I can kind of get that. And then it also just has a simplicity and a coziness to it that really just makes me want to curl up inside and enjoy some downtime. The next one is Metroid Prime. This one is for when I'm feeling a little bit more action oriented, or I just feel like shooting some stuff. This became one of my go-to travel games when it came to Switch. I'm sure you know by now, Metroid Prime is one of my all-time favorite games, and I think the reason that I like playing it on vacation is that the game itself is so atmospheric. And by exploring those levels and hearing the music, it reminds me of being a kid in the early 2000s and playing that game with my dad, which for me would have been a much simpler time. Another reason that I do think Metroid Prime is a good travel game is that if you know what you're doing, you can probably get through the game in about 4 or 5 hours. And if you're going for 100% item completion, I think you could probably do that in about 10 or 12 hours. Up next is Pikmin. I typically go for either Pikmin 1 or Pikmin 3. I don't like Pikmin 2 as much as the other games. And then Pikmin 4 is a lot longer than the other games. Pikmin 1 you can knock out in probably about 5 or 6 hours. Pikmin 3 is a little bit longer, but it has so many quality of life improvements that you can really blitz through it really quickly. Not to mention that the challenge levels in Pikmin 3 are so much fun that a lot of times that I do end up traveling and taking Pikmin 3 with me, I end up just playing some of those miscellaneous challenges and stuff and have a great time with them. Just like the other games that I brought up so far, Pikmin, really the entire Pikmin series, has a coziness and a familiarity to me that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm supposed to do next. It's really just a matter of spending some time and sitting down and doing it. And the final game that I want to talk about today is Super Mario Sunshine. This is Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Of those three, Super Mario Sunshine is my favorite. Once again, we're going back to the GameCube here, that this is a really familiar game for me. This game specifically is the one that sparked this video. I went out of town last weekend and I took my Switch with me and I started up Super Mario Sunshine, had an awesome time with it. This was a really formative game for me. I have so much muscle memory going all the way back to the GameCube that every single time I play this game, it feels so familiar and so intuitive. And actually, this most recent time playing it, I didn't even need to look up where any of the secret shines were. I was able to get all of them just from memory. Replaying Super Mario Sunshine, whether I'm traveling or sitting around at home or whatever, is one of the greatest experiences for me. Just like some of the other games, I chose this one because it is a little bit of a shorter experience. If you're like me and you know what you're doing, you can 100% it in probably about 15 hours. On my most recent trip, I played probably about 10 hours while I was away. And then once I got home, I was able to wrap up the rest of the game in probably another 4 or 5 hours. That's all 5 of the games that I picked out to talk about today. Some other stuff that I did want to mention. So all of these games are games that I would consider to be cozier, shorter experiences. And then all of the games that I chose are available on Switch, but it's important to me that they're available on some kind of portable platform. I've used a PlayStation Portal before, and I've also done some like PS Remote Play or like Xbox Cloud stuff on like my iPad with a controller connected to it, but that's really just not what I'm looking for when I'm traveling. I do also think it's worth pointing out that all of these games that I like to play when I travel are games that feel familiar to me. Maybe I like playing familiar games when I'm away from home to kind of restore some of the comfort that I would have in my own home, but I don't really know. And I think that's all I have to say. In the comment section, please let me know what games you like to take with you when you travel. Until next time, the best way to keep up with me is on Twitter and on Instagram at James_Solar, and on Blue Sky at jamessolar.bsky.social. Thanks, guys.